Have you ever heard a secret that was so big it felt like a giant thundercloud hanging over a beautiful castle? Imagine a story filled with kings, queens, princes, and a very famous woman that everyone in the whole world is talking about. Some people think the story is like a fairy tale, but others think it is more like a mystery movie where nobody knows what is really true. Right now, there's a very big argument happening. It is not just a small fight between friends on a playground. It is a giant battle with lawyers, thick books, and very important secrets that might be told in a courtroom very soon. People are whispering in the hallways of old palaces, and they are typing fast on their computers all over the internet. Everyone wants to know the truth about a famous mom and dad and their little children. This story has everything: famous stars, angry sisters, and a search for the truth that might change everything we think we know. Get ready, because we are going to look deep into this mystery to see why a few simple words and some old records are making such a huge splash in the news today. This is a story about fame, family, and what happens when the whole world starts asking the same big question at the very same time. Why are people so interested in Meghan? Well, she's a very special person because she did something that not many people ever do. She was a girl who started with almost nothing. She was not born into a royal family with crowns and fancy cars. She worked very hard and became a famous star that people all over the planet recognize. Because she was different, she was like a big challenge to the royal family. They have very old rules, and she brought a lot of new ideas. Some people find her very fascinating because her life changed so fast, going from a regular person to a global star who married a real prince. In the very quiet hallways where people talk about the king and queen, a big storm is starting to grow. Two people who know a lot about the royal family are making a lot of noise. One is a lady named Lady C who has watched the royals for a long time. The other is a man named Tom Bower who writes big books about famous people after doing a lot of homework. They are talking about a secret story that might make a lot of people upset. This story is about whether a baby was born in a secret way, which is called a surrogacy claim. Now, people are talking about lawyers and legal actions, which is making the whole thing feel like a very dramatic movie. Some people who like Meghan are very surprised, while people who do not like her are feeling very interested. The whole internet is full of guesses and ideas about what might happen next. But what did these two people actually say to make everyone so upset? There's a secret legal threat that has suddenly become a much bigger deal than anyone thought it would be. Someone tried to make the critics be quiet, but it actually made them want to talk even more. It was like trying to put out a fire but accidentally pouring more wood on it. Lawyers who work for Meghan Markle started sending messages to people who talk a lot. They told them they should stop saying mean things. The lawyers thought these people would get scared and run away because legal letters can be very scary. But the people they were talking to were not the type of people who get scared easily. The people who got these letters were Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower. Lady C is a royal insider who has spent many years, even decades, learning about the history of the palace. Tom Bower is a writer who is famous for finding out things that powerful people want to keep hidden. He spends a lot of time looking at papers and documents to make sure he has the facts right. Instead of stopping what they were doing, these two people stayed very calm. Lady C even looked right into the camera while she was talking and said something that made everyone gasp. She said, "Let him sue me." Those 4 words showed that she was not afraid at all. She acts like she has proof that is stronger than any threat from a lawyer. Behind that calm face is a very messy problem that has been around the story of Harry and Meghan for a few years now. There have been many rumors and many times where people said the rumors were not true. There have been a lot of arguments about when things happened, which hospitals were visited, and private choices about when the children were born. Tom Bower says that his team of researchers went to look for information at hospitals in both London and California. What they say they found, or what they could not find, has made people who follow royal news very curious. They could not find the normal records that usually exist when a baby is born to a very famous family. The biggest danger for Prince Harry and Meghan might not be the people who say mean things. The real danger might be the way a lawsuit works. If someone goes to court to say that a story is a lie, a special process starts called discovery. This is a time when both sides have the legal right to ask for all kinds of papers. They can ask for emails, text messages, and official records. Usually these things are private and kept in a secret folder, but in discovery those walls can fall down. Experts say this is when a lawsuit stops being about newspaper headlines and starts being about real evidence. Birth certificates, hospital logs, and private notes can all be looked at by the judge and might even be shown to the public. People who don't like what is happening say this is exactly what Lady C and Tom Bower want to happen. They have spent years doing research and talking to people. They have a lot of materials that might finally be looked at in a courtroom. Some people say this is making the people inside the palace very nervous. The workers at the palace know that trials can be very messy and you never know what will happen once they start. For a long time, Harry and Meghan have said that they are the ones being hurt by the media. But if this goes to court, things might change. Instead of making the critics quiet, the lawsuit might let everyone see things that were supposed to stay private. This is why everyone is asking one big question. If the truth could stop all the rumors, why hasn't anyone just shown the proof yet? A lawsuit that some people thought was not important is now asking for Meghan Markle to give answers while she is under oath. This means she has to promise to tell the truth, or she could get in big trouble. This is bringing up questions that the public has never really heard before. How did a simple fight between family members turn into a giant battle in a courtroom? This battle could have very big consequences for everyone involved. There are questions that Meghan cannot just ignore anymore. This legal fight is moving toward the spotlight, and it might affect more than just a family argument. By the month of July, a judge told Meghan that she had to sit down for something called a deposition. This is part of a lawsuit started by her half-sister, Samantha Markle. For a long time, Meghan's lawyer said this case was silly and should be ignored, but now Meghan has to answer very specific questions under oath. The trial is supposed to start in October, and it might not just be about who has a good reputation. It might be about who has the proof. Samantha has a list of things she says are not true. She says Meghan told stories about their family that were not correct after she got engaged to Prince Harry. One of the big arguments is about Samantha's last name. Meghan suggested that Samantha only started using the name Markle after Meghan became famous. Samantha says that is a lie and that Meghan is trying to change their family history. She also says a story about an old car is not true. Meghan once said she had an old Ford Explorer that was so broken she had to climb through the back to get inside. Samantha says that story is just not how things really happened. When you are in court, you have to do more than just tell a good story. You have to have evidence. Every claim is tested to see if it is real or just made up. There are two authors watching all of this very closely. We already mentioned Lady Colin Campbell and Tom Bower. Lady C has written about the royals for a long time and knows people who are very fancy and important. Tom Bower is known for being very tough. He wrote a book called Revenge that looked at how Harry and Meghan became famous. He likes to write about powerful people who try to hide their secrets. When he was writing his book, he talked to many people who used to know Meghan. Some people did not want to talk, but others did. Even her father talked to him. Her father said that even though they have fights, she is still his daughter. At the same time, Lady C started hearing secrets that she thought were just silly stories at first. But she got curious and asked her researchers to look at two hospitals. These hospitals are the ones people think the babies were born in. One is Portland Hospital and the other is Santa Barbara Cottage Hospital. The researchers were looking for the normal papers that happen when a baby is born. They wanted to see the records and the signs that a famous person was there. According to Tom Bower, they did not find much. Lady C thinks that people who used to work at the palace or the hospitals might eventually tell what they know. We don't know if these claims are true, but we will find out more when the court cases happen later this year. In the beginning, Lady C did not believe the whispers about Meghan's pregnancy. She thought they were just made up by people on the internet, but she kept getting phone calls and hearing people at the palace talking quietly. She started to wonder if there was a bigger story. She went from being unsure to looking very closely at everything. She wondered how the old royal traditions were being changed. There are many questions that the palace has never answered. When the news about the pregnancy first came out in 2018, Lady C didn't think it was a big deal. But then journalists started asking her for her opinion every single day. People inside the royal circle were starting to feel uneasy. Lady C started to look at what was happening in front of everyone's eyes. For a very long time, when a royal baby is born in London, there's a very clear set of rules. This is done so that everyone knows the truth and there is no confusion. Hospitals like St. Mary's are famous for this. They tell everyone the names of the doctors and they put up a big sign so the public can trust what they are hearing. This system of being open protects the king and queen from people doubting them. But when Archie was born in 2019, things were different. There were no doctors' names given out. There were no photos on the hospital steps right away. There was just a lot of silence, and that made people start to have questions. People who study the royals compared this to history and they felt confused. Even people who work with babies, like nurses and midwives, started to talk privately. One nurse who had worked for 30 years said she had never seen a pregnancy like that before. She said it looked different at different times. Some photos showed a belly that looked one way, and other photos taken just a few days later looked different. People started to wonder if something was being hidden. One night that everyone remembers was the British Fashion Awards. Meghan was there in a pretty dress, and she kept holding her stomach with both of her hands. Some medical people who watched the video said it looked like she was trying to keep something from moving rather than just holding a baby. This one thing didn't prove anything by itself, but when you added it to all the other photos, the rumors started to grow. Lady C says she isn't trying to be mean to the children. She thinks it is actually unfair to the kids and the public to have all this mystery. She thinks the king and queen need the people to trust them. She says the fix is very easy. If everything happened the way they said, they could just show the proof and the rumors would stop right away. A simple explanation like the ones they used to give would end the debate. But until that happens, the questions from 2019 are still there. Years before the world saw the famous royal baby, there were quiet talks at a place called Clarence House. These talks suggested that things were not perfect behind the scenes. People wonder what was said in those private family meetings and how those early choices changed everything. There's a strange pattern of secrets that started long before the world saw the child who is now very famous. In the big halls of Clarence House, a conversation happened back in 2017. Harry and Meghan's relationship was still very new and everyone was excited. Harry sat down with his father, who is now King Charles, and Queen Camilla. They were having a fun talk about what the future might look like. Camilla made a joke about what a future baby might look like. She wondered if the baby would have brown skin and Harry's red hair. Everyone laughed, including Harry. It seemed like a normal thing for a family to joke about. But years later, that same joke was used to tell a very different story that made people very angry. While that talk was forgot for a while, other strange things were happening. People who watched Meghan during her pregnancy noticed some odd details. One time she went to a charity event wearing a purple dress and a red coat. When she arrived, her belly looked high and round. But when she left the same event, it looked like it was a different shape and in a different place. People also talked about a video where she bent down very low in high heels. Some midwives said that is very hard to do when you are almost ready to have a baby. When the official news of the birth came out in 2019, some people noticed the words were a bit weird. It said the child was born for the Duke and Duchess. Usually people say a baby is born to the parents. Some people thought this was just a mistake, but others thought it might mean something else. Then Tom Bauer started looking for the hospital records again and couldn't find them. Also, the couple chose to show the baby to a TV station in America instead of the British media. This was a very new thing to do. Some people liked that they were being modern, but others thought it felt like they were making a TV show instead of sharing a royal moment. Tom Bauer also talked about a big truth regarding the deal Harry and Meghan made with Netflix. He thinks they risked more than just their privacy. He thinks they risked their reputation. He asked if they understood what they were giving up to get all that money. He says the real cost was their credibility. From the couple's side, they needed the money. They didn't have the financial support from the king anymore. They had to pay for their own house and security. The Netflix deal and Harry's book were the only way to get enough money to live their expensive life. In 2020, they were living in a big house in California. They were working hard to make themselves a brand. They did documentaries and interviews to stay in the news. Critics say they weren't really looking for privacy. They were looking for a way to sell their story. There was one small moment in 2019 that people still talk about. Harry and Meghan were talking to the cameras about their new son, Archie. Harry said the baby had changed a lot in 2 weeks. But Meghan quickly whispered that the baby was only 2 days old. This was a very small thing, but it made people wonder why they weren't saying the same thing. People say that Harry is very frustrated right now. They say he stays up late at night looking at the internet. He reads articles and watches videos that talk about his family. He sees all the theories and it makes him upset. He has always had a hard time with the news people. He still feels very sad about what happened to his mother, Princess Diana, many years ago. He thinks the press was the reason for the accident in Paris. Some people agree with him, but others think he is just too angry at the media. Now his lawyers are thinking about suing Lady C and Tom Bauer. Lady C's response was very brave. She did not take back anything she said. She said she is ready for a lawsuit. This drama does not seem like it will go away. Harry talks a lot about wanting the truth to be told, but many people see contradictions in his stories. He says he wants to be honest, but then things don't always add up. He has accused a lot of people of doing wrong things. He says his friends and his family have been mean to him. But people notice that he uses some of the same tricks he says are bad. This is a very confusing situation for everyone. Lady Colin Campbell talks in a very calm way. She doesn't scream or get overly excited. She speaks like someone who knows how the rules of the court work. She knows that if a trial starts, everything has to be proven. Tom Bauer feels the same way. He's not scared of a lawsuit because he has all his notes and papers. He believes that in a courtroom, the facts are the most important thing. A judge doesn't care about how famous you are. The judge only cares about what is true. To these writers, a trial is a place where they can finally show everyone what they found. The public is watching this like a big game. A lot of people on the internet are actually saying they hope it goes to court. They want to see the evidence. They know that on TV people can say whatever they want, but in court you have to tell the truth because you are under oath. People are noticing that Meghan has been very quiet lately. She used to post a lot about her new projects, but now she's not saying much. Some people think she is just busy, but others think she is getting ready for the big legal battle. Prince Harry and Meghan told their story to Oprah Winfrey in 2021. They said they felt like they couldn't speak when they were in the palace. They wanted to be open and honest. But now 2 writers are asking very hard questions. These questions are about the rules of who gets to be the king or queen. In the UK, there are very old rules about this. To be in line for the throne, a baby must be born of the body. This is a very old way of saying the mom has to give birth to the baby herself. This is a very important rule for the royal family. If someone were to prove that these rules were not followed, it would be a very big deal. It would change the whole line of succession. This is why the questions about Archie and Lilibet are so important. It is not just gossip, it is about the law of the land. Legal experts are looking at what this could mean for the future. King Charles and the palace are staying very silent. They say they do not talk about rumors. This is what they always say, but because they are silent, people keep guessing. When you look at Prince William and Catherine's children, you see them all the time. They go to school and they stand on the balcony with the king. They look like a very normal, close family. But with Harry and Meghan's kids, we almost never see them. Some people think this is to keep them safe, but others think it is strange. Tom Bower and Lady C say there's one very easy way to stop all the talking. They say a DNA test would prove everything in one day. If the test showed everything was normal, the critics would have to be quiet forever. Until that happens, the mystery will keep going. The silence from the couple in the palace makes the suspicion grow. People wonder if there are secrets that they are afraid to tell. Tom Bower thinks their whole future depends on people liking them. If people stop believing their story, they might lose their fame and their money. Their brand is built on being honest and brave. If people find out they weren't being fully honest, the brand might fall apart. This is a very high-stakes game for them. When they moved to California, it was supposed to be a fresh start. They had big deals with Netflix and Spotify, but some of those deals have ended or slowed down. People are wondering how they will keep making money. Lady C says that Meghan might have thought Harry had more money than he really did. She thinks Meghan was surprised to find out his money was tied to the royal family. Critics think this realization changed how they acted. They also look back at Meghan's life before she met Harry and see a girl who wanted to be famous in Britain. Harry also had his own reasons for wanting a change. He felt like he was always in the shadow of his brother William. He wanted to be his own person. He thought Meghan could help him become a global star on his own. Now they are both in the spotlight, but it is a very hot and uncomfortable light. They need the attention to keep their platform, but the attention also brings a lot of people who want to find out their secrets. The legal battle with Samantha Markle is still moving forward, and more people are getting involved. Lady C keeps saying the same 3 words, "Let him sue me." She's waiting for the challenge. Meanwhile, the palace is watching and waiting. The whole world is waiting too. People want to know what is really going on behind those big gates and fancy doors. Every legal paper and every interview adds a new piece to the puzzle. Will we ever know the whole truth, or will it always be a mystery? What do you think about all these rumors and the lawsuits? Do you think a DNA test is a good idea? It is a lot to think about, and it seems like the story is just getting started. This whole situation is like a giant puzzle with pieces that don't quite fit together yet. On one side, you have a couple who says they just want to be happy and live their own lives. On the other side, you have very old traditions and people who think those traditions are being broken. Every time a new story comes out, more people join the conversation. It is not just about one family anymore. It is about what people expect from their leaders and their stars. The world is watching to see if the truth will finally come out in a courtroom, or if the silence will just keep getting louder and louder. As we wait for the court dates in October, everyone is looking for clues. Every photo is being zoomed in on and every word is being analyzed. It is a very strange time for the royal family. They are used to being the ones who tell the stories, but now other people are telling stories about them. This battle of words and evidence is going to be something that people talk about for a very long time. Whether you like Harry and Meghan or you don't, you have to admit that this is one of the most interesting mysteries of our time. It has fame, power, and secrets all mixed together. So as the sun sets on the palace and the lights stay on in the big houses in California, the questions remain. What will happen when the judge says it is time to speak? Who will have the proof and who will have to say they were wrong? This is a story that is still being written every single day. We will have to wait and see what the next chapter brings. But one thing is for sure, the world will be watching every single move they make. Don't forget to share what you think and keep an eye on the news because this story is far from over. It is a big, complicated tale that reminds us that even the most famous people in the world have to face the truth sooner or later.